If your air conditioning system isn't working the way it used to, I'm going to give you 3 tips that you can do at home yourself. You don't need any special tools, and it's designed to help you make your air conditioning system perform more efficiently, but at the end of the day, the goal is to make the air colder. So stay tuned and I'll show you more on how to do it. Alright, let's get down to business. So what I'm doing here is I'm measuring the temperature of the air coming out of my air conditioning vent. Now don't panic, you don't have to do this part. This is the before picture, if you will. So I wanted to see what temperature was coming out of my air conditioning vent before I did these tips. So the number is not really super important. What matters is the difference. So this is the before at 63 degrees, and the goal is we want to get that number as cold as possible. And before you jump and say, whoa, 63 degrees, that's really cold. It's really not, because if your room is 100 and you're pumping out a little bit of 63 degree air, it's going to take a long time before you can bring your room down to a 70 or 72 degrees. So let's go through these tips and I'll show you what a difference they can make, and at the end we'll do it after and see how we did. Let's start with a really easy tip. Clean the return vents on your air conditioning system. You'll have 1 or 2 of these vents in your ceiling. Sometimes they're on the floor. A lot of times these get caked with dust. It restricts airflow, and that's the name of the game. You really want to make sure that you do everything possible to not restrict the airflow. So as you can see here, just take your vacuum with a dust brush, spend a few minutes, clean this thoroughly. This really can make a difference. It's super easy to do. And as you can see here, as soon as I'm finished, the vent is sparkling clean. There's really no more dust on the outside. Now I clean this somewhat regularly, but I can tell you a lot of times there's tons of dust. So do this first. It's super easy. Next top tip, if you talk to any HVAC person, they're going to tell you the biggest problem that they see today is that people buy these incredibly high efficiency filters. You can see here I have one installed. These are the pleated ones, 3M makes some, and the issue is they restrict airflow too much, and your system was not designed for that kind of restriction. If you call manufacturers, they'll also caution you against using them. Best tip I can give you, throw them out. Get the standard fiberglass air filter, and I'm going to show you one here, and these will make a big difference. You can see how I compare them. These fiberglass filters don't look great, and a lot of people cringe when they see them. They are designed perfectly for your system. They allow the right amount of airflow, and they do protect the system against large particles, hair, pet dander, things like that, and they work very well. Huge tip to do this. So replace it with a fiberglass filter. This single tip can make a giant difference in your airflow. Here I'm turning my air conditioning system on, and already I can feel better airflow. So with that unbelievably restrictive air filter, now putting a fiberglass filter in makes all the difference. So I can feel more air going in and more air coming out. This is the best tip I've ever gotten from any HVAC engineer or tech. The number one reason that people call them for air conditioning problems is that their outside unit, like you see here, gets clogged with dust, leaves, debris, dirt. These pull air in all the time, so they're almost like outside filters, and if they don't ever get cleaned, it can be a real problem. So first thing you need to do before you do any of this is go to your outside breaker, or you have a shut off, and we're going to turn this off. This will kill the electricity. If you're not sure, use your inside breaker. You want to have the power off before you do this. What you see here are the only tools you need to do this job: regular garden hose and a bottle of soap. Now, if you have a bottle with a squirt top, you'll see why this is handy, and it's even better if the bottle just has a little bit of soap. Now, you don't want to have this soap be completely concentrated. So what I'm going to do here is add some water, and I'm going to dilute this way down. Now, the concentration does not really matter. You don't have to worry quite how much. All you want to do is have it be basically very soapy water with just a little small amount of soap like you see here, and I think I used about 20% soap, and I'm going to fill this right up. And if you've never done this, you're going to get a lot of suds, and what I do is I just let the suds go right out of the bottle, and the goal is the blue soapy water, I just want to have as much of that in the bottle as possible. When you get your system serviced, the tech is going to clean the outside unit. I'm going to show you a do-it-yourself way that's very simple, easy, and safe, and it will allow you to clean your outside unit without any special tools. And it may not be as good as an HVAC engineer because they use very caustic chemicals. This will absolutely make a huge improvement, especially if you've never done it. So what I'm going to do is show you how you apply it. All you do is have your soapy water, squirt the outside of your unit. Now the key to this is, the top is where your fan is. You'll see here that at no point do I spray it in there. There's really no need. keep in mind your whole unit is designed to be outdoors, get wet, so none of this is really a hazard. You don't have to take tremendous caution, but I like using regular dish soap. It's safe and easy and cheap, and you're going to have it around. So what you're going to do is start at the top, just like I'm doing here. Squirt the whole unit. You're going to squirt it through the side vents, and you're going to let it soak in as best as possible. Gravity will do the work, so you can really start on the top and just allow the solution to go through. But again, you're only spraying the soapy solution on the outside vent, the sides. You do not need to spray it on the top. It will not actually do anything. So here's a close-up of what's going on. You can already see the soap and the dirt is starting to flow out of the vents, and that's exactly what you want. Because when your unit is outside, it's always drawing in pollen, dust, debris, and that really builds up on the inside. So you can see there on the bottom, I have some very heavy debris. So the next thing you need to do is to rinse all that soap off as soon as it's sat for a few minutes. So you're going to use a strong garden hose. I would not recommend using a pressure washer. You can actually damage the unit with it, so just use a garden hose. You really don't need a ton of force. So you're going to rinse it, flood through a lot of water. You can see out the bottom there's dirt, debris, a lot of soap coming out. That's all perfect. That's exactly why you're doing this. So as this gets cleaner and cleaner, what you're doing is you're making it easier for airflow, and that's really, again, what you want to do. So keep rinsing, and again, don't be put off by the fact that you're going to see a ton of soap coming out. It's just the nature of the way the fins are inside, and with dish soap, it's going to suds up a lot, and that just really means that it's doing its job. So you don't have to wait until every bit of soap is out, but you're going to want to keep rinsing it until mostly it's just water coming out the bottom. But take your time, go around from top to bottom. This is the most time-consuming part. And if you're watching this part of the video thinking, geez, I don't want to do this part, I liked the first two tips, I would really tell you this is really one of the most important things you can do. I have a good friend who's an HVAC tech. Many of his calls are spent because people have these outside units that get absolutely clogged with dirt. So if you take a few minutes to even look at yours, you're probably going to be shocked to see how much is in there, especially if you haven't had it serviced. If you're having a problem with your air conditioning, this is a great way to make sure that this is not part of the issue and save yourself a couple $100 on a service call. So as you can see on this side here as I'm rinsing, there's still a little bit of soap coming out the bottom, but it's not nearly what it was before. So I'm going to move on to the front and the other side. And again, I'm just spending a lot of time to heavily rinse the unit. Once I use the stream, I tend to change the amount of water so it's a little bit more water coming out with less force like I'm doing here. It just really makes sure that I get all that soap out. Again, this is just household dish detergent, so it's not going to do any damage sitting on the fins, and it really cleans very well. And if you think about it, really, you wash your dishes with it, you can wash really any kind of dirt or grime off, so it really actually works very well. It's also much safer for your plants compared to the caustic chemicals that the engineers and the techs are going to use. Now that we're done rinsing, all we need to do is turn the power back on. I do suggest you wait about 10 to 15 minutes just to let any excess water drip out of the unit, but now we can turn it back on and just make sure the compressor is working normally. Don't forget too, you may have your thermostat turned down, so even if you turn the power back on, it may not turn on right away like mine, so you may have to go back inside and turn the thermostat to a colder setting. So things look good, it sounds great, and now we know that the unit is cleaned on the outside. So this is the real test. Let's take a look now that we've done all these things. What are we getting for a temperature? And you can see here, this is like 55 degrees. That's basically a 10-degree difference from what we started with. That's a great temperature for your air conditioning. So this was well worth it. It